Hi all. So Sumuttaja 2103. I think I'll play d4 and just try and play for an advantage in the opening if possible. So I'll play knight f3 here. I'm prepared to sack the c4 pawn, but actually I think knight e5 here against that immediate bishop g4. So is he tempting me to play something like queen b3? That's interesting as well. I think I am tempted for queen b3 here, and I'll let him double my pawns now, because I think that a file could be useful, and b4, b5 could be quite dangerous here. But he might play knight d7, so what will I do the knight? Maybe knight d3, because his bishop's kind of hemming in his development, unless he plays g6. But then, maybe I gain a tempo with knight f4. But b4, b5 seems interesting. But I don't want these pawns doubled at the moment, so I think e3 here to protect that knight without having to get my pawns doubled. Okay, so he's trying to break out. I think I'll just try and keep solid there. That pawn on c5 is kind of useful, hemming in the bishop. But my d4 is potentially a bit weaker, so I might have to arrange like bishop e3 and prepare against like a knight g4 and attacking d4 if he fianchettos his bishop. But bishop e3, I don't really want knight g4, so maybe h3 first, then bishop e3. The knight's quite neat on d3 at the moment. Okay, bishop e3 here, I think. So I'm perfectly defending d4. I think black's going to counterattack on d4, because that is the immediate undermining point of the pawn chain. But if I play f3, I can also put my king on f2 here. So that would be interesting to consider, just playing f3 here. I like my pawns are kind of solid in this position. So moving my king to f2 is a neat way of manually castling. And also, I'm supporting potentially g4. So if I play g4 and h4 with a potential space advantage, if I get later my bishop to h3, that would be a useful pin. And then maybe b5 will be dangerous. So I think I'll try for this space advantage over here. If he plays h5, maybe g5 so I've got a little bind going, but I've got to be careful about this knight. Maybe I should move it to f4, so I'll be able to play bishop h3, and then maybe b5 at a timely point, with the idea of c6 takes and rook a6. But I want to close, I think, the king side here first. So do I risk waiting around with g6? Because if he's going to take on g5, that could be kind of nasty. So I'll try and, mind you, he could sort of round it up with like knight f8 and rook h6. So do I want to move it forward, or just want to play rook g1 here? If I play rook g1 though, fg, hd, my f file might be under pressure. So I don't know. This is a problem with g5. Maybe an immediate b5 here and then c6, just trying to open up this kingside position. Okay, I think the deciding point is to play g6 actually. If I lose that pawn, I'll have bishop h3 with an extra sort of bit of pressure going there. So g6, just to try and clam him in a bit. Alright, let's see. Is he going to play rook h6 though? That's the problem. But if rook h6, maybe knight takes d5, bishop takes and g7. So knight takes d5 is an interesting resource there. Alright, if I exchange off bishops though now, there's less pressure on that g6 pawn, and maybe bishop f4 is a nice square for that bishop. So do I want to still get in this b5, I think. It will be kind of a dangerous move, and then c6. Because this bishop's kind of usefully pointed. But also I've got another potential plan of just bishop d4 or even rook e1. Bishop d3 ties in that bishop, so it can't use the f5 square. Okay, so if I use the e file quite quickly now, forgetting the b5 plan, or yeah, I think rook here to see how he's going to parry this just simple e file pressure. I don't really want to exchange rooks. I think it might simplify the position for him. That's the problem. Okay, if I move the bishop back, then okay, if I take, then rook here, he could just play bishop d7, but I take all the rooks, and there's probably nothing there. But hold on. Doubling up rooks, bishop d7, rook e7, and also I've got rook e6 if bishop d7. So I think this is an interesting move, just doubling up rooks here. So here, rook e7. So rook to the 7th rank infiltration. So can I grind out a small positional advantage now? A little bit of pressure on g7. So I'm threatening rook g7, but also maybe to just play bishop f5 here, exploiting that pin on the 7th rank. So rook f7, rook g7, and bishop f5 are threatened. If king d8, rook g7, rook e1, king e1, where is black's counterplay? I can't see black's counterplay being that much here. What is black doing here? So is he going to take on e7 to try and just simplify a bit, and then just passively defend g7? Probably, but then bishop f5. Okay, so I'll take on g7, nabbing that pawn. Now here, I've got to look out for potential exchange check with rook d7 and g7. It's not quite working here. Rook d7, bishop f5 and bishop e6s would be useful, but the king's always got e7 at the moment. There's also an idea of, okay, rook f7 and g7 is dangerous, but then rook f7, bishop e8, but then rook takes b7. I think this is a nice move, a simple move. So encouraging him to play a bishop e8. Oh, so my rook's in trouble. Oh dear. Okay, I'll just have to try and grind this out now with bishop takes f5. But then king e7. Oh, it's not so easy. So maybe I've given the opponent some counterplay. King e7. So bishop f5, king e7. There's nothing clever there. What about rook h6 though, just targeting this pawn? So maybe I can try and get onto the b7 pawn. There's no entry points, which is really good. The king's covering all these entry points on this file and this file. But he has got potentially bishop h3 and rook g2. So maybe if I take on h5, I've got to play rook g5 and just try and grind this bishop ending. Okay, rook g5 here, and then h5 seems interesting. Or I could leave a little trap. If rook h3, see, check, takes there, and bishop f5 is a little trap. So a little trappy move maybe. Just rook h7, but then bishop h3, but then rook takes b7. So okay, a little trap is set. So is he going to play rook h3 to fall into that little trap where I've got rook h8, rook h7, and rook takes d7 with the idea of bishop f5. So he's only got 37 seconds left, so this is very promising. But bishop h3 is the most dangerous. I could just try and defend with bishop f1, but I end up losing the f3 pawn. But rook takes b7, just allowing that check, and then a6 is going to drop. So I think I'll play rook takes b7. Doesn't seem that dangerous. And if a6 drops, I think black's position's getting a lot worse here in this endgame. Okay, but can I just keep solid though, just to stop his f pawn? Delay, or should I just I think it might be worth it, because if bishop g2, king f2, so there's no need to make my opponent's job easier. Okay, if he repeats, I'll just play king d2, I think. So it'll still take time for him to arrange a nasty pin. Alright, here I can just take on e6, but then check bishop e2 and then bishop f1. Okay, so do I want to use this rook? Okay, I think I'll gain some time attacking his king, gain some time on the clock, and then maybe play rook c6 or rook a6. So if rook c6, then I've got rook e6 potentially. So if bishop f1, rook e6 to protect e2. Okay, so this is looking good now. Rook e5, it's looking pretty solid. And now this is surely just all over. I'll just go for his d5 pawn. Okay, cool. I hope you enjoyed that. Please leave any comments on YouTube. But first, actually, let's have a quick, if we have time, a quick look at that game. So Slav defends, but he blocked in his queenside a little bit. So knight d3. So I had to contend with a bit of counterplay. But I think this A file, this pawn structure is very interesting indeed. I think it's quite kind of solid. The king was okay on f2. Maybe I created a bit of a weakness. That g5 was a bit of a weakness. But tactically it was difficult to exploit, I think, because rook h6, knight d5. So here, you know, even though he was simplifying the position, I did have a nagging edge which culminated in this rook on the 7th. So he's dropping that g-pawn. I think he was like struggling here a little bit, even though I think recall material here for the moment, but he was losing a pawn. So in order to get his rook to the 7th, he's like losing another pawn. And it's just a very difficult task to try and draw this endgame now with very limited time available. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. Please leave any comments or questions on YouTube. Thanks very much.